What is going on, everybody? How y'all doing out there in podcast land? What's
Doing
going
well,
on?
Captain.
Good.
Hey, howdy, gang.
What up? What up?
We got a special guest down there in the bottom right corner tonight, everyone. It's Manny from Autopot, USA.
How's it going, everybody? Happy to be
Welcome,
here.
brother.
Thank you,
Yay.
guys. Thank
A
you. It's an honor.
glorious round of applause.
It's an honor, really. Thank you.
Thanks. We're happy to have you back. You were, we had you on about a year ago, I think, when really you were kind of introducing me to Autopots at that point in time.
Remember that? Didn't I get you a system right after that? We got you hooked
Yeah,
up.
You did.
Yeah.
yeah.
You did. I've been using it since, and it's been kicking ass, man.
No
I
doubt.
can't even, like, honestly, I can't thank you enough. It's really been a game changer. You know, I know it's a cliche term, but like, I could never go back to the way I was doing it before.
No
It's
doubt. No doubt.
it's
We
crazy.
like
So,
we like the crack model a lot here at Autopot because we're just hustlers anyway. So we the best thing we can do is just give systems out to people that are interested, and then 9 times out of 10 it's a home run. Everybody loves it, and that's really been the secret to our success, man. We've gotten a lot of swag over the last year and a half or so. Before that, all our money just went to putting systems in people's hands, man, and letting the Autopots do the rest at the end of the day. you know
they speak for themselves. I mean,
Mhm.
like, I don't need to say shit in my post. It's just like, just take a look at the growth that's happened in the last like 6 days. Just
Mhm.
it says everything that I could say and then some. Picture says 1,000 words. So, yeah, I mean, it sells itself, and people out there are now starting to really get the message that the automated watering is the way to go. No matter how you go about that. And I think we've, at least on this show, we like to talk about the butt chugging style, and that it just goes hand in hand with the Autopots. It's automated butt chugging, man. It can't get any better than that.
You got it.
So,
You got it. Yeah. Well, the willingness to want to try it is a big thing too, because it's one thing to present the idea and the concept to people. It's another thing to be like, okay, I'll make space in my grow and I'll use this. And that's where we have to do a lot of the work. So, and where we appreciate you guys a lot, man, and talking about the system. And I know we're a sponsor and everything, but I know you guys wouldn't talk about it with the enthusiasm you do unless you really stood behind it. And we appreciate it.
no.
I
I
mean,
mean,
look,
listen.
they've changed my life. They really have. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like, so I won't even set up a system for somebody unless if they want me to run it, it's got to be Autopots because I don't have
Right.
the time to do anything else, and it's just it's kind of foolproof if you set somebody up, with the recipe and a feed chart and be like, look, just keep the reservoir full.
Mm.
It's just
Crazy, man.
really that simple.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it recently, like the plants I have outside. They're not even really, they just started flowering, and 12 plants are drinking sometimes over 25 gallons a day in this heat we're having.
Mhm.
So I would never give them that much water, ever.
Mhm. Mhm.
You just never would. And
Why?
then,
Yeah.
but you see the growth. The plants when they're in charge, it's you just get the best results.
It's the best way to go about things, man. And I mean, look, there's a lot of different ways to fertigate out there, and they all work. They all do work. I'm not going to say they don't. But there's a lot of crop steering involved with a lot of them. And with the autopot system, we leave that up to the plants. So and that would be the difference.
Now, some people would say that's a disadvantage. You can't like dry back and
Mhm.
and
I hear that
do
a
all
lot.
that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, how do you respond to that, really?
Cool, you guys are just jumping right into it today, huh?
Well, I
No, I'm
mean, hey,
joking.
we could
You're
start.
good, you're
Let's
good.
start
I know.
slow. If you want to,
I
you
just
want
wanted to bust your balls on that. No, that is a really good question, man. It is a great question, and it's one that I get a lot. And the argument for that I get that holds the most weight is as far as crop steering and drybacks go, is the stress signals from that and the quality that it produces, and terpene and oil production, right? And what I would say is, and this is an argument that I'll use quite often, is just comparatively. And I have a lot of people, using Autopot, whether it's on a small level or on some of the largest, facilities doing, some of the highest level testing possible. And when we match the potency and the terpene levels of the plants they're growing compared to other plants that are done in more traditional ways of fertigation, they're right up there. But that being said, there's other tools out there, and um, one that I like a lot is a product called Headmaster from CX. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Oh,
But it utilizes a technique called isolated drought, right? So this product, when you're using it, it will create little globules, little bubbles around certain areas of the root zone, and that mimics the stress signals you would get um, from these dry periods, helping increase quality, but still allowing the plant to continue to consume and grow at a fast rate. So there's workarounds, but that being said, again, comparatively to our system being used at facilities where half the facility will be drip irrigation, on a a very high level system that's giving a lot of data and feedback, and half the facility will be autopot, and the numbers are the same. So it's something that we have to combat. I wouldn't say often because it's a higher level question, but generally, these are the things that I point to when it comes to the comparison. But one thing is, we designed the system to be on all the time. You can just turn the thing off if you wanted to try it
Yeah,
out.
that's
So
we've talked about that
we'll get
before.
into it. That's how I use the system a lot.
right,
But
right.
yeah, um, I
So
appreciate you getting right into it though. Like that is a high level question, not a beginner tier Autopot 101 sort of thing.
no, but
But
I like it. I like coming right into it, man. That's good.
yeah, hey,
Dude,
I'm sorry,
I
Monk.
get a
I didn't mean
lot
to
of.
cut you off.
Oh, no, no worries. I get a ton of fucking dinosaurs, like I call them, that are like, you can't use cocoa in autopots. You're not getting runoff.
Mm,
Remember, Captain? We had that guy
Yeah,
coming at us. I forget who the hell he was. I
yeah,
don't even.
it's
Even if I
not
knew his
drained
name,
to waste. It doesn't
yeah,
work.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, like to the people who just read from books, you know what I mean,
mhm,
and like don't actually do it. I could see how they would still believe that.
mhm.
But look, even I was skeptical at first.
Right.
I mean, I was introduced to Autopots a long time ago. I didn't start using them until I think 2016 or 2017.
Mhm.
Um, and I was skeptical, man. It just didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, no fucking ways. That just sounds too good to be true. No pumps,
Right.
no timers, gravity fed.
Yeah.
Like, and I actually didn't understand at the time that it was a dual flow valve. I'm like, there's no way you want your plants completely saturated the whole fucking time.
Mhm.
But when I learned about it, it's like, no, they fill, drain, then fill again. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that's pretty friggin' cool. So I decided to give them a try, and I haven't looked back. And I get accused all the time of being an Autopot shill. But the thing about it is, the way I see it, like if you want automated watering and you don't use Autopots, I just think you're making a foolish decision. Because
Well,
even if you compare the cost comparatively to like a DWC bucket system, drip irrigation, which drippers clog all the fucking time, you have to equalize pressure along all those lines, which is another, whole set of fucking issues. The Autopots just work. They work every
mhm.
time. I mean, look at G3. You gave yourself an hour to set up your tent. It took you 3 minutes.
Two
Yeah.
hours.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
As
I
soon
also
as I was like, what am I gonna do now?
yeah, the first time I hooked up an Autopot system, I did the thing that I tell everybody not to do now that we sell hundreds of thousands of these things, all the time is I didn't read the directions. I was like, this thing's so easy. And I put it together like in 15 minutes, with no issues. But I'm not advocating for not reading the directions. Please read the directions before setting up the system. But
Especially
yeah,
the reservoir.
yeah,
That
especially
key about
Yes.
turning it at the end with it full, it really
mhm.
does help.
Yeah,
Um,
and people have to put one thing I'll say people do all the time while I have this airtime is the back of the valve has a little half circle on it that goes into the T on the tray. So a lot of people think a float valve means the entire valve is floating in the tray. That's
Is
not the
that a
case.
clear aqua valve for
It is.
demonstration
Yeah,
purposes?
this is my demonstration valve. These are the two
Wow.
floats, everybody.
it's
Whoa.
Yeah,
it's like
we have the inner
like
float
there's a
up, we have the upper float. There we
Dude,
go.
I'd love to have one of those.
It's like
Yeah.
one of those like medical models that you
It
get
is.
in biology class. That's
Is it
pretty
fully
cool.
functional or is it just for demonstration purposes?
No, it comes off the same line. It's just we don't make a lot of these, and they're hard to come by. But maybe one
Yeah,
day we'll
yeah.
do a special run. I mean, but you could really see all the dirt inside if you had one of these, and maybe it'd be easier to clean. So maybe one day. But right now, it's just it's an educational tool, and like you
Yeah.
were saying, the double float. Oftentimes, people are looking at our system and they just think it's this part here, just an inner float coming up and down. But there is an upper float that's going to move with that inner float simultaneously to allow us to push the air out. As the water is taken up in the tray, this upper float will fall, covering that hole, creating that vacuum in here. The water level drops till the tray almost dries out, breaks the seal, and it opens again. So, in case anybody's curious, that's the functionality of the aqua valve. So,
Nice.
next time I get a
So
few, I'll throw you some.
so
Alright.
simple and beautiful. It really
Yeah,
is.
it is, man.
It's
It
cool.
is. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. But
Yeah, yeah.
We did kind of jump right into it. We didn't even talk about anybody smoking on anything good tonight?
Well, I am. I got it.
Yeah.
I got one. I got one. I got one. It's Fenrir from Big Green Guy. Shout out to him. I know he's a listener out there, and he sent me a couple beans. I grew one out, and it
He's
beautiful,
a
man.
recent Autopot believer now as well.
Well, didn't he grow like the biggest plant you've ever seen in Autopots?
Yeah.
Like, didn't it
Yeah.
take up a whole fucking 4x4 with one
Yep.
plant?
It
Because
was
yeah, I
massive.
mean,
Yeah.
big?
it
Autopot.
was-
Yeah, yeah.
4x4
And
tent, one pot.
And
Yeah.
he's a great grower, of course,
Mhm.
but like, yeah, I believe he used Autopots to fill a whole tent. So these buds are like nice and chunky, real chunky. I don't know
Oh,
if you can
nice,
see that.
Yeah.
Very, very, very big, dense nuggets, and it's like this orangey, bright orangey with like a little grape on the back end, sort of thing. It's very, very nice. I enjoy this one kind of like midday into the late evening. It's not gonna put me out, but it's not gonna like. It's definitely a relaxing one, not a energetic strain. But yielded a shit ton, and yeah, it tastes just like it smells. I mean, what more can you ask for from an auto flower? So, shout out to Big Green Guy. He's doing some quality genetics, guys. Check him out there on IG. He's got a lot of other strains too. So
Definitely. I recently got a chance to meet him, and I left his house stumbling. We smoked so much of his strains. So yeah, had a good time. He's a good dude.
oh yeah, you remember
Yeah.
which ones?
No. Nope.
They were that good, I guess.
They're that good. I was gonna say.
Yeah. Dude, we took a selfie, and I think I posted it to Discord. We both looked like, like high school kids smoking weed for the first time. We were just really big. Really big.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Manny? You got anything you're puffing on?
Not at this second, man, because honestly, I don't smoke as much as I used to. I still enjoy it, but if I did, I would be less use to you guys right now. So I got a cup of wine, a Cabernet,
No?
and
Nice.
yeah, I got
I
a
like
little
a good Cabernet.
late pen. So yeah,
All right.
maybe I'll choke up towards the end of the show. We'll see, because then
All right.
it'll just make the show take a lot longer. Just being question, I'll be like, hold on, yeah, but not this second.
So what do you got?
Cool.
G3?
What about you,
I
G3?
want to hear. Oh well, I have some juicy fruit haze from the captain.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds familiar, huh?
Yep.
Who's the breeder of that?
I don't know who is the breeder of this cap.
That's a Mephisto. Mephisto. That's from
Juicy
like I
fruit
was.
haze is a Mephisto. It is. You're totally right. It's a old school one though. I haven't seen it out
Yep.
like since I
I've never
started
even
growing.
I've never
It
even heard of that
is.
one.
It is from only released in the worldwide store. That's one of the advantages of being a seaman. Travel port to port and make friends all over the world.
What did you say
Trade.
about semen?
He's swimming
Just-
hard.
It's just trading beans, But the juicy fruit haze, yeah, Mephisto, and it is Mango Smile crossed with Hubba Bubba Smelloscope.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Above
that sounds
so-
interesting.
And it
Um,
smells and tastes like that fruit stripe gum, the one with the zebra.
I told you.
And
Didn't I
like,
say that on like
yeah,
2 shows ago?
it like
Yeah.
lasts for like 6 seconds, and then like
Yep.
all you taste is like carnauba wax or whatever the hell they put in
Yes.
the gum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Or
So you shove the whole pack in your mouth, like one piece after another after
Mm-hmm.
another.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
that's so
So
funny. We all had the same experience with that gum.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
But
They still make it.
um
I
I've
felt
seen it on the shelf.
bamboozled
they
every
they
time.
do. They do. So please tell me more about the weed that I grew.
It's spectacular. So Cap gave me he gave me quite she gave me a smorgasbord. We get a smorgasbord of the
Oh,
weed from
Yeah.
Cap. So we got his mango smile. We got the juicy fruit haze. We got the blue Zeroso, and from Alebrije. And
Oh, so he got to kind of repay the favor. Like when he was low a
yep,
couple months ago, you hooked him up, and that's awesome.
yep.
See, I love that shit. Seriously, all kidding
right.
aside, I love that. That's the kind of shit
That's
that
right.
makes the
Yeah,
community
we got to
awesome.
like hang out. I gave him a light. He gave me some weed. It was awesome.
Well, it was all part of the light exchange as well. That's like, talking about, we'll get into it. Companies that we work with and all this stuff, man. I've been on a ride
Yeah,
with some
we'll
of
get
these
there.
other people, but holy shit. So is the Juicy Fruit Haze the winner of the bunch for you?
Nope, it's close. It's close, but the winner is strawberry milk and cookies.
Mm.
I told you. I
Yeah.
mean,
Unlike anything I've ever experienced before. It tastes. It's just crazy. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
yeah,
Amazing, and it's gorgeous, and spectacular
thanks.
job, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, that's like props to Daz for that one because I don't know how the fuck he did it, but like yeah, the strawberry milk and cookies from Night Owl is the tastiest weed that I've ever smoked. Like, or like I don't care. Photo period, autoflower, I don't care. Like, it has a strawberry and like cream and gas sort of flavor, and it's
Yeah,
just
I get like
amazing.
a hint of cookies at the very beginning, and then you get smacked in the face with like that strawberry Nesquik. You're just like,
Yeah,
oh my god,
shout out to Daz and Night Owl. Those guys are doing good things over there.
unbelievable. So now I need to find some strawberry milk and cookies, and of course it was like limited when you got the bundle. So it's like, here you want the one
Yeah,
thing you can't get. Typical.
Yeah,
you
Daz
had
is
to
killing
buy
it.
the bundaroo.
The bundaroo.
But actually, so I wanted to say, but Daz is using Autopots. I saw
Yeah.
one of his recent posts to
Yeah, it's-
breed all his new stuff. Yep.
Yeah. A mutual breeder friend connected us all, and now he's off to the races, man. And we love seeing what he's
Hell
doing.
yeah. And to be quite honest, why wouldn't you use Autopots if you're breeding autoflowers? They go hand in hand,
Mhm.
you know?
in the name,
Auto
right?
autoflowers and Autopots.
Yeah.
It makes nothing but sense.
It's a really
Yeah.
popular combination. All these emerging markets across the country, man. It's people because shows like y'all's and different servers on Discord and message boards everywhere, and just having these conversations, people are picking up on it. And their first plans, their first grow, whether it's Oklahoma, Virginia, Illinois, Mississippi, New York, um, people are just jumping right on it, man. And the good thing is having great success right away, but that combination of autoflowers, autopots, organic living soils, and those three things together, I mean, it's just a recipe for success. It's really easy. You're growing your own medicine at home. I mean, it's instant consistency for people and good results. And it's why people are just jumping on it very quickly.
I get a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I thought I was only for cocoa." You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, I can do organics with." I'm like, "Yeah, of course you
Mhm.
can." I've
Absolutely.
seen facilities
Thought it
that
was.
do just straight water only the
Right.
whole time.
A lot of our facilities that are running 5,000, 10,000 plus autopots are usually using an organic soil. I mean, that's
Mm,
oftentimes that's what brings them to us because we're one of the best methods of irrigation when it comes to that, you know. Um, so it's actually a little heavier on that side than it is using the system as a means of fertigation. So, and you guys will
yeah.
see actually we have some new content coming out on Instagram and our new YouTube channel. I did want to say Luke wanted me to throw it out there, but we just started an Autopot YouTube channel, and you can find the link in our IG link tree. And we'll be having some content. But one of the first ones is a beautiful facility called Galenas in Ohio that runs a few thousand of our Autopots, fully organic, and the head of cultivation there is just super switched on. Her name is Christine, and they're doing great things over there. So people want an inside look at what it looks like to use Autopots on a large level and use them well. We'll have some good content coming out for people to check out here very soon, and that'll
Great.
be one in a
Can't
series of
wait.
videos we're going to have coming out. Just kind of showing people what people are doing, opening the doors to their facility, and kind of not giving them every secret. These guys are very tight-lipped with what exactly is in those pots, but
Of course.
but seeing everything
I mean,
else
that's
going.
their bread and butter. It's a
It is.
fucking, it's a business at the end of the day, you know.
It
And
is. It is.
why would you want to give up your trade secrets, you know?
Mhm. You got to be
I
strategic
hear
about it.
that.
Yeah.
Now that's one of the differences. That's why you're watching our show, because hopefully tonight I'll be able to divulge some of the secrets of organics and autopots that I've learned over the past couple runs, and exactly how easy it is. I mean, because really, like you said, I can't imagine any easier growing method. Truly,
Mhm.
it was one of the things like that drew me to autopots. Like when I heard you talking about it on our first interview, at that time I was doing a lot of bottom watering, like, and butt chugging, but like
Saying that.
really it, like, I saw the difference in the plants. Like when I started using that as a method and incorporating that into my watering, I saw the difference right away. You would get bigger plants, more bud sites. Just like at the end of the run, the pots were full of roots. You know what I mean? Like the whole 5 gallon pot was just, even though I use fabric pots, it was still filled out entirely.
Mhm.
So I saw the benefits of bottom watering, and it just, like, it made nothing but sense to just automate that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, hundreds of years before we got our hands on these plants, the natural way plants seek out water is from the bottom. You have the occasional rain or whatever happens, but plants need to access water from the water table and from what's beneath them majority of the time. You know, so
It's a
yeah.
really good point. And
And
that's like a lot of people, I hear the term SIP system a lot in the community, like the sub irrigated planter.
Mhm.
And that's like, I see even on like Build a Soil channel on YouTube, he uses his earth boxes
Right.
as like a SIP system. And now that's kind of how I view autopots. It's really the same. It's just automating the water you put at the bottom of the SIP.
That's
And
exactly what it is. It's
I
it's
mean
an
it,
automated sub irrigation system. So it's
yeah.
right on the head. Yeah, absolutely.
So and now to along those lines, I guess one of my questions is, like, have you ever considered, because the way Jeremy uses his earth boxes on the YouTube channel there is he has like a cover on top, like almost like a black mylar kind of cover
Mhm.
over the earth box to allow, it's almost just a mulch, like a solid mulch layer there. It keeps all the stuff on top nice and moist, living system so it can all break down. Now, is that something you could do with autopots, or do you think covering the soil with like some sort of plastic and not a breathable mulch material would, like, I don't know, for lack of a better way to put it, fuck up the water cycling?
Not really. So we actually developed a product, and it was a drawstring pot topper, right? So it
Okay.
would go over the top of the pot. Um, it never really took off. I mean, we developed it in conjunction with people that specifically were asking for it. With
Plant skirt,
large
right? Is that what it
pots.
was called?
Well, it was with the plant skirt. We had ones that went on the top of the pot, and the plant skirt does the same thing. But most of the time, what I see people doing is layers of mulch or perlite on top of the pot. This will help have bring the moisture all the way to the top of the soil line, and is beneficial in the kind of gardening that you guys do. So that is an option. The pot topper that we had, um, it's not super airtight. There's holes in it at the top, and I think there's still air exchange and availability of oxygen there. So I don't know to your question, I didn't see any negative impact from it, but again, it wasn't something that was widely used or that we sell, but we did come out with it. And Jason, the owner of Autopot and the innovator of it, he's coming out with stuff all the time. This is one of the many things that he had put together for some other people. So the option was there. But in y'all's case, I'd point you more towards the mulch or heavy perlite layer, or whatever, you want to use, and that'll help bring the moisture more all the way to the top of the soil line,
Sure.
whatever
Now,
substrate you're using.
that is exactly how I've been doing it, using a nice thick mulch layer about an inch deep of those rice holes on top.
Right.
And now
Are
you say, I'm sorry.
are
Go
you
ahead.
seeing more root growth towards the top of your substrate?
Oh
Are you?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh
So
yeah. I
good. That's what you
those
want.
the feeder roots, like we were
Right.
talking about on one of the shows with joint custody a couple
Right.
weeks back. Um, yeah, it's just like I would expect to see in an earth box, to
Mhm.
be quite honest, and it's beautiful, really, it is. Um, and now you mentioned, like what you want to see as an organic guy. I want to see the water wick all the way up to the top. Like I want the top layer of the soil to be moist because that's where my top dressings go.
Right.
That's where I'm putting the mineral amendments, and I want all the microbes to be breaking those down constantly. And if you let your soil dry out too much, your microbes die, and they're not going to be breaking that shit down. So you want to make sure it's nice and moist. Now, I did notice that using the new air base, right, in the bottom of the pot instead of a perlite layer, it did facilitate the wicking much. I don't want to say much better, but better than it did without it. But
Right.
I still don't feel like it got water up high enough, or it kept the top layer as moist as I like it. So like I don't even turn the system off anymore. I'll just like every other day, every 3 days, just water like a cup and a half around the top of each pot just to keep things up
Mhm.
And,
there
and
nice and
again,
moist.
any salt growers, do not do that.
Yeah,
Do
not a
not do that with salt.
yeah,
Thank you.
that is an organic
I have
technique.
to say it every
Exactly.
time because I don't know. You mean I just have to assume that nobody's listened to this show before.
Listen, I do the majority of all the tech support for us nationwide, and people will call me just freaking out. I don't know what I did, and then I go through the rigmarole with them and ask them what was going on, and they're like, "Yeah, well, I poured a bunch of water and just tried to flush. I wasn't sure," and I'm just like, immediately I know why their plan is it's a salt storm, just thrown right into it, and then whatever problem they had before now is now completely exacerbated. So this is very good advice, and oftentimes, and nothing against newer growers and stuff, but you have to speak to people like they don't know any of this stuff, and that's beneficial. That's why people tune into you guys, and listen to
You're
your
right.
stuff.
Now,
Um,
can maybe we could get into that a little bit, like why? So, like, you can top water a little bit and bottom water at the same time if you're doing organics, but as a salt grower, that's gonna fuck you up. Why is that?
Well, in a wicking in any bottom feeding scenario, and other people that have been bottom feeding for a long time know this, that everything's being pulled to the top between the capillary action of the plant feeding and the roots and the wicking properties of your soil. It actually is a pretty strong force pushing these residual salts to the very top layer of the pot. So if you are to top feed, you're going to throw that back down. Now, there's guys that have like workarounds. Some people put a feeder tube into the pot when they pot up, put a little PVC pipe, have it go about 3/4 of the way down in the pot. You can throw a little funnel on there and just pour stuff into the top. Or, some people just take a broom handle and push it right down in the corner sometimes and just pour down in there. There's workarounds, but yeah, those residual salts, if you're feeding salts, are going to accumulate all at the top layer of the pot, and you don't want to push those down into the root zone because that's just going to cause problems.
I Now I've come into grows where people have had issues, and I've taken the pots out and flushed them from the top, but like
Mhm.
made sure that like you're getting a shitload of runoff to
Right.
really flush them. Like,
Right.
and I haven't
Yeah.
had any issues that way. But like,
No,
you
I mean,
can't
like,
just pour some water in the top and call that a flush. Like, you need to get like a lot of water going through those pots to get
sure.
rid of the residual salts at the top.
Yeah, and
And I've only had to do that with people that have like pH lockout issues and stuff like that from just not managing their reservoirs right. But yeah,
yeah, it's kind of a nuclear option. Oftentimes I'm going to tell people just to start feeding with water, and let the water do its thing and start just kind of working its way through and pushing everything up, and then slowly reintroduce nutrients. But if it, like you said, if things are very far gone, then yeah, you could just do a massive, like, 3 times the volume of the pot, just run it through there, get everything out. You can continue to check the EC of your runoff. Um, and then get to a point where you know that you're good, and then just start slowly reintroducing nutrients to the plant. But one thing I did want to touch on here while I was talking to you guys is just because it's the most common mistake by growers who know their shit that move into autopot. As I talk to people around the country, and you know and again, like I said, I do a lot of the tech support, and people come to me and they've already zeroed in. This is my problem. I've been doing this, or I have this deficiency, and it's this nutrient, and like 9 times out of 10, it's nothing of what they're saying. It's just overfeeding because they're just using too much newts in the system because they're just accustomed to drain to waste feeding, and which is super wasteful, and requires a much higher EC. So even stepping that down attack can get people in trouble. So it's one thing I always try to mention, especially to growers who already know their stuff and they want to like hit the ground running with the system. It's one of the most common mistakes amongst growers that aren't novice growers, the more advanced growers, novice too, but the more advanced guys that are having issues, and then they usually come to me and say, I think it's A, B, and C, and it's neither A, B, or C. It's almost always it's an overfeeding situation, and we're approaching lockout. And it's usually pretty evident in looking at the plant and the leaves. And which I can point out pretty quickly to these growers. And sometimes it's a mistake they make, and it might ruin the run, but you will learn. You'll learn at that moment. You will learn that you're not going to do this again.
You gonna learn today.
Yeah, you learn today, man. When you're cutting down those plants and you're kind of like crying about it, you do this again. Not gonna happen.
Uh, that's funny. Now, I wanted to just mention Monsta uses Athena, and he's always talking about how he feeds at like a 3.0 EC in his res. Now, is that, like you mentioned, it's a common mistake for like a novice grower? You think that's because a person as skilled as Monsta has his environment dialed in, and he knows he's pushing his plants properly, and he's feeding them like they're using the nutrients? Because
before he gets to answer that, like if like I've said before, if I pushed a 3 EC with other nutrients, no, you just
Right.
can't do
okay,
it.
Right.
gotcha.
So, not to say he's not skilled, because I think if you're trying to direct me there, not to say that, but no, Athena, specifically Athena, is fed at the highest levels I've seen of any nutrient, any synthetic nutrient that's on the market.
Interesting.
People come to me all the time. At first, I was, I was kind of thrown back by it, and then I know the different Athena reps and stuff, and talked to these guys, and dealt with this in the field. But no nutrient is fed at a higher rate successfully than Athena. Now the question is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, I've never in the past heard people brag about using this much salts and being okay, but at the end of the day, Athena does produce results. Are those results on par with other great nutrients like Canna, or Emerald Harvest, or some other of these guys out there? A lot of times, yes. So I don't have a definitive answer as to is it good or bad, but because of the way they formulate their nutrient and the way these salts are put together, and they have a better explanation of this than I do. But the highest rates I've seen with feeding is with Athena, and it's done successfully. So, in answer to your question, it's that is attributed directly to Athena and what they're doing.
Okay.
And I mean, look, what I'll say is, and I've been in this game a long time, and I've pushed a lot of juice. It's from the marketing standpoint, this is what you want people to think is good. You want them to say, "Well, I can use this much fertilizer and it works great." This is what they sit in sales meetings about. Say, this is what we want. But to their
Yeah.
credit, it's very successful. It works, and that's why people are using it, and they have a huge following through Instagram, the Jungle Boys, and all this stuff. And that was already recipes for success. They knew what they were doing. So
Absolutely.
But it's one of my top recommendations for nutrient. I mean, it's not my first, but it's probably my second or third. People are asking, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and
just since I've started using it, I've never had better results. So I'm gonna keep using it. Like I've said before, I really don't like some of their business practices. I feel like their trust the program fucking quote like no microbes type of shit is
Mhm.
it's just stupid to me.
Yeah,
Um, but I've never had better results using Athena, so I'm gonna stick with it. I mean, unless
it's
like I said to Captain, unless they start kicking puppies, um, I'm gonna continue to use it.
yeah, I'll draw the line there as well.
they make me this like nice little growing sandbox. You know what I mean? That like if you're like a not really like a grower and you're just doing this for like a business, then like yeah, trust the program. It'll get you some results. Like, you know, you
Well,
might get
they're replicating a recipe that's worked for those guys out for the Jungle Boys out in Cali, and that's how they run. They run sterile. They want you to use the cleanse product. They don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
deal like you have pathogens, you have beneficial, and you have non-beneficial microbes and microbial activity. And I think a lot of the times, if you just take the option out altogether, and run in a sterile environment, it's just for them. It's more foolproof for the grower.
makes
But
sense.
as you guys know, having an environment, inside of that pot that where microbes are working in harmony with the plant is some of the best results you can get is from that. But it does take a little more thought. It takes a little more.
I agree. I mean, I understand where on like a huge at scale kind of environment, like if you've invested millions into this grow and you have a dosatrons and all these little things to check your parameters, like yeah, you want that level of control over your feeding, but like as a home grower, like all the tent pirates out there, like just some soil and some microbes and let the plants do the work for you, like I mean, grab yourself an autopot, 4-pot system, throw it in your tent. Actually, shit, I don't know. If you got a 4x4, you might want to go with a 2-pot system. Just just my recommendation because the plants get fucking huge.
They do. It depends
Depends on what
on
you're
how much.
doing. If
Yeah.
you're
What
doing autos,
you're
like
growing.
you can't control the size, then yeah, two probably. But photos, I'd probably recommend four because you can just veg for a shorter amount of time.
Mhm, mhm.
True,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I
If
got
you
I got
are, sorry, go ahead.
I have 4 and a 5x5 right now, and it's like literally wall to wall. But yeah, it's looking good. Have you seen the recent pictures, Manny? I'll send you
Do
some.
you have them on Instagram? I gotta check them out. I should be better at
Yeah,
these things, but
all
I'm
good.
bad at social media sometimes. So,
No
but I'm gonna
worries,
get
man.
better.
I'll send them over.
Yeah, cool, cool, cool,
All,
cool.
all I can tell you is kicking ass. Like organics, living soil.
Mhm.
Actually, it's re-amended soil.
Yeah,
Um, added a nice, heavy dose of nutrition. Made sure it was nice and aerated too. I feel like that's one of the things. At least when I get people who are like coming to me struggling a little bit with what they're doing, I feel like a lot of times their medium's not aerated enough. Um, it's one of the keys with autopots.
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
if you and then if you're gonna like add extra aeration to your medium in organics, you're also gonna be wanting to add extra nutrition too. So it's like it's this, you know, extra aerated but super 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 soil at the same time, and
right.
it does the job, man. It really does. The plants love it. Yeah, does
So
great. So
I,
You
I'd
know, and
I'd kind of I'd kind of All right, go ahead. I have another question for you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Manny.
speaking on that, one thing too, people are like, well, if I don't want to aerate the soil as well, I throw the air dome into the system. But the air dome's not going to work as well if the soil is not properly aerated and the air can't
Yeah,
pass through it. So, like, this is something that people don't realize sometimes. They're like, oh, just throw the air dome, and I'll be well, no, because then the water, it's just the air is going to find the easiest way out of the pot. It's usually through the sides. If you want it to pass through, again, you need aeration. But the way you guys garden, the more aeration you add, the less nutrient content will be available. So you have to go harder. Um, and one other thing I'll say too is we will for the next few months, starting in about a month or so, running a promotion. All smaller autopot systems are going to be coming with mycorrhizae and a different product as well, free, just free. We're going to be throwing in conjunction with another company, which we'll mention soon. So, and this is a promotion we'll start running all the time now. When people buy, anything from 1 to a 6-pot system, because we want it included. Want people potting up, throwing that mycorrhizae in there, throwing these beneficial bacteria in there as well, because we want their success, and we believe that that's the way to get there.
Yeah, I mean, with microbes, I feel like it definitely helps minimize your transplant shock.
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah. I always coat the outside of
Yep,
of,
I
of,
like to
of
use Mycos personally. I mean, I use Photo Plus too, but when I transplant, Mycos is my go-to.
well, that could be that should be the first one. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a
Extreme's a great
great
company.
white guy. You're a great
Yeah.
white
I
for me.
love Great White. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I feel like they're getting too much money for that product.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're both very good companies that dominate the industry between Extreme and Great White. And at the end of
Yeah,
the day, as long as people use one of those, something from them
yeah,
is good.
Something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great
Use
White used to have this awesome product called Jellyfish. Did you ever see that one?
No, I heard they
no.
got a new one called King Crab that sounds pretty
King
interesting.
Crab's good. They gave me a bunch of samples of it, as they were coming out with it that I've been using. But they had this product
Yeah.
called Jellyfish, which I thought was awesome because it made this
What's
gunk.
that?
It was like this goo. You'd mix it up. It was this mycorrhizae goo, and you'd lay it out. And what you do is you take your transplant and roll it in it. It would completely coat the outside of the plant and and eliminate transplant shock completely because it was a
Holy
goo.
shit.
So it was awesome, but it
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
I don't think they sell it anymore. But I loved it. I loved it. I had a bunch of samples for a long time. They gave
You
me
know
even
what
after
product I used of theirs for a long time is the Orca. When I
working
was in
great.
DWC,
Yeah.
um, that's one of their products I
Nice.
used a lot of. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, there's a bunch out there on the market, like you said. I feel like, but that is something that'll benefit pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Unless of course you're a jungle boy. Uh, running sterile. No,
You
no
know,
microbes for me, sir. I just want to crop steer. Just want to.
for them though, one thing I'll say, I'm gonna leave it at this because I don't want to go too hard here because then I'll have an army of people talking shit. But a lot of this bud in these pictures are for Instagram porn, bud porn, and it's like, well, how good does it look on video, not necessarily taste, right? So if we're running that way and we're just pumping salts in a sterile environment, everything tuned in perfectly, you know, then on camera, man, these things look great, and that's where the following is, So maybe there could be a disconnect there because what is driving the force behind these guys, and it's not necessarily the sales of the flower, and it's a lot around the mystique around what they're doing and what's on social media and all the brands they push around it now. So what is their motivation, right? And taking that in consideration, this method of growing, it falls in line with that, right?
Believe the term is aspirational lifestyle advertising. But but yes, I agree 100%, Manny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how great minds think alike. You know what I mean?
But like I said, I'll leave it at that. I mean, I think they're doing great things, but yeah, it's the way you approach this stuff, man, and and not to say that any style is necessarily wrong. There's things that work for
Yeah,
everyone. You know.
that's the thing that I want to drive home. I feel like there's a lot of fucking hate of organic growers by salt guys and vice versa. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, we're all in the same fucking boat. Literally, we're in the same boat. We're
Hmm.
going downstream, and we're all trying to get to the same place. That's product, in our jars. So if you want to grow your way, I grow my way. Like, can't we all just fucking get along?
Hey, man.
You know?
Hey, and we do. I think if you're interpreting anything that comes from me as anything other than genuine grower love, you're mistaken, man. It's ball busting. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. No, I didn't mean you
we're
per
having
se.
fun, and I know there's people out there who really do get heated about this stuff, and
I
it's
just
like
laugh.
the organics versus salts, and we're all on the same team.
Mhm. I think there's a happy place where you use both, and that's always been my point of view on things. And I like
Yeah,
lines
I'm a
that work great,
synthganics guy. I use a
right?
lot of organic shit. So it's like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. and I think you can get a lot of the best of both worlds in that way. But you know, I don't walk in a subway and like tell the guy in front of me who's making like some meatball sub and putting mayonnaise on it, like, yo, don't do that. I don't have to eat his sub. That's his fucking sub. Like he's gonna eat it. I have my own fucking sub, right? So I don't care how you make your fucking sub. Like it's up to you. You know, I'm gonna fucking be quiet and I'm gonna fucking make my own, eat that shit. You know, that's always
Think,
that's my analogy. You know,
listen, this metaphor applies to more than just growing, guys. This is a life lesson right here.
it is. I
Coming
think I told my son that one a little too many times. He's like, Dad, you're repeating yourself. But you know, that's something that I
Yeah.
like.
So why don't you
from-
kind of dive right in and tell us maybe some more what's going on with Autopots? I know you guys are always in R&D.
Mhm.
There's every time I turn around, there's a new product coming around.
Right.
So I'm sure you got something to talk about there.
I do. And it's something that you guys will like a lot. And I did want to talk about. So thanks for the opportunity. We have the XXL coming out, the XXL pot. So that
It's
is
exciting for the organic growers.
it is, man. And I have
Can
I
you
have a lot of
can you say that again? Oh man,
double XL.
just one more
baby.
time.
Double XL.
The-
Double XL. Yeah.
it sounds so erotic.
Yeah. No, that's if we get one more X in there, man, then we're done. Because people Google that, they're not gonna find Autopot anymore. But the XXL is so the base. It's a very large base. This is a whole new XL base. It's gonna look just like the XL base because it's circular.
Think like I gotta throw it out there real quick. It'll be they'll like find the misspelled version of like Autobot porn. You know what I mean? From like the Transformers movie a couple years
Yeah.
back.
I
It'll
like
be
it.
like Optimus Prime, just
oil
Yeah.
spraying everywhere. Yeah. I love
oh
it.
shit, that's not what I wanted. I wanted Autopots XXL.
A long time ago, we were trying to think of a mascot for Autopot that we could make a little cartoon of and use, and it was the Autopot bot, and we thought that it would mesh too not well with the Autobots and Transformers, so we fucking
Yeah.
ditched it. But I thought it could be cool. It'd be like a one pot module with like robot arms and eyes and stuff, and he would like like an animation.
It's
But
cool, man. That's cool. I'm
yeah.
sorry, I had to throw that in there.
No, it's good. I like where you're going. Yeah, the XXL. So it looks just like the XL base. It'll be grommeted like the new trays are grommeted, and it'll have an insert that can go in it that will go into the base, so you can use a smaller pot, which will be the 9-gallon. And then if you remove that, you can throw a 13-gallon pot into it. So it's going to go up. It'd be up as high as 13-gallon volume
What are
pot.
the dimensions of that without the insert, the circle? Because I know it's like 10.5 inches on the XL.
Currently, it's 10.5. The new XXL is. Let me see. I should have it right here. I'll tell you. But oftentimes with these, we're going a little longer than your conventional pots, a little higher up. But no, I don't have that specific
That's all right.
yet. And the cool thing too is this is one of the first pots and systems that are going to be produced in the United States, as opposed to the United Kingdom. So easier availability here for people, and less often that we'd run out, even though that doesn't happen as often anymore, but more during the pandemic and when things were crazy. The whole industry was shortages everywhere because everybody and their mama was growing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, dude, the 50 liters will be cool. And the second I have them in my hand, I'm just gonna I'll send a bunch to you guys just so you can mess around with it and start farting around with it and see what you can do.
Yeah, the reason why I was asking is, I mean, traditionally 5 gallons in cocoa is enough, but I have found cases where my plants, some of them were root bound at the end, like when I cut open the pots and looked.
Okay.
So I think that maybe a bigger pot could benefit even salt growers with some of those longer flowering strains, possibly.
Possibly.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
were you dealing with as well? Like how long was the veg on that plant that you thought?
Veg was definitely a little bit longer than expected
Yeah.
because we the room was tied up. So
Mhm.
yeah, that may have also contributed to it. That's a good point. I actually never thought of that.
Right.
But usually I like to veg for like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks
Okay.
is my standard. But yeah, these ones definitely went closer to like 4.5. So
Yeah.
that's altogether possible.
Mhm.
Now I feel like the XXL, the Magnum Autopots
I like that.
are
I like
are
that.
directed more towards the organic growers.
Oh, definitely.
They're the
As
ones that are
you
most
know,
excited about it, and I
for
recently
sure.
visited a couple like large organic facilities, and they are just hounding me for these things, man. They want them really bad. So it'll be most urgently wanted by that crowd. That being said, a lot of the time I'm telling people not to use bigger pots that are using them, with salts and cocoa or whatever they might be using in the pot. Everybody wants to go big, especially in the States, not compared to like Europe and other countries we deal with. Here,
It's
the
always
guys
better,
pump
right?
huge giant pots, man. And
America.
it's like I try to preach to people. I'm like, man, you don't need this size pot to get what you're doing. So now there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna see this size pot, they're gonna jump right into it, and it's gonna be inefficient for what they're doing, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, mainly for the organic crowd, man. And then like large mothers, like long term moms in different facilities that we deal with, large to small, could utilize this as well. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
Awesome. I
yeah.
mean, just for what I'm doing, like I could eliminate the top dressings, the foiler feeding, all
Mhm.
the foiler feeding that I've been
Stop
doing.
that.
I can just stop doing that if I have a bigger battery. By the way, guys, it's foliar feeding. I don't know how many fucking times I have to tell you people. Foliar. All right.
I like the
But
way you say spoiler.
Well, it's a shout out to another well-known grower. He definitely knows his shit, but he's a little arrogant sometimes. And if
Is
you
he
don't know
from
how to say
Wisconsin?
foliar, if you don't know how to say foliar, and you're that
he,
arrogant,
and he
then there's
even
a fucking
doubled
problem.
down on it too. He tried to like tell me I was
Triple down
wrong.
on it.
Like no, it's foiler, dude. It's foiler, I assure you. I know the word. All right. It's
His
just
name rhymes with must.
yeah, yeah, it does. And as it's one of the sayings, what do they say? Never meet your idols, right? 'Cause this is a guy that I looked up to and like I definitely respected a lot. Still doing in some ways, but a lot less so in some other ways now. What can I say?
Just when he says foliar, then it's just like, mm,
And I strongly disagree with his takes on kelp as well. So
okay.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that. But I think the XXL system sounds like something I would benefit from a lot. Like I could eliminate all that extra feeding that I do if I had a bigger battery and I could just like all that's in my reservoir is water. I don't
Right.
add nothing to it, right? And I know that Autopots like you have the bigger valve now, right? Like it's the
Right.
3/8 of an inch,
Right.
even on the smallest fittings,
Right.
and that will I've seen it. I've seen some people do it. If you run organics in your reservoir, it will work. But you'll have to clean the shit out of that system after
Mhm.
your run. And then it'll continue to work. I just think, that level of upkeep is not for me.
Yeah,
So
one thing I'll say, it's helpful if you're going to go that route, and people do and get great results. Just because the flowers come out great. But the occasional once a week, once every 3 days, run a tank of water. Run a tank of water. Make sure to clear the lines. Oftentimes people are using a secondary tank. That they have a smaller tank that you can just switch over to, and that'll be just pure water to run through there. And then there's a lot of good products right now you can run um from different
I run
companies.
my teas through a secondary tank.
There you go. Right, dude.
that's
And
right.
that's smart, and it just makes your life easier, right?
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
so easy to plumb one up like in 2
Mhm.
seconds with a shutoff valve.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah. And
like
then
you were saying if you had like that Photo Plus, like we were talking to Scott, and that'll eat like organic sludge from your
Oh, I'm
lines
actually
too.
glad
So
you mentioned that.
me
So,
too. I was just gonna mention that as well. Yeah.
I uh I was using the cleanse periodically because I was worried about that type of buildup, and I hated doing it because I knew what it was doing to my root zone as far as like
Mhm.
killing my microbes. And I've always used Photo Plus, so it's like one of those things I'm like killing and then adding, killing and then adding. And since he mentioned that, hey, I strongly believe that you do not need the cleanse if you're using Photo Plus in your tank, and I do. Anyway, long story short, I haven't used it since he was on the show. What's that, like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, a month ago,
Yeah,
and I
3
haven't ran
weeks.
into any issues at all.
Nice
No,
guy, good dude.
dude, super nice guy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since I took his advice, I haven't had any issues at all with, clogs. I do open the end of my run like every couple of days and just let some water flush through. Flush lines. That's what everybody should do. Organic, synthetic, I don't care what.
Yep, that's
Open
it.
the end of the run, flush the
That's
line a little bit.
good
Um,
practice.
but yeah, no, haven't had any issues. But yeah, you had something to say on it, Manny?
Well, look, and what you say, that's in our SOP too. I mean, you should be opening the lines regardless of what you're doing. It's easy to do. You get a tank change, open that line up. But the method of using products like cleanse or even drip clean, these products are more geared towards salts. And I think if you have organic buildup in the lines, you need to take an organic approach to it. You know, and that's use different microbes that'll eat away at that organic buildup. And there's different ways to go about it. Like the guys from Microbe Life might have told you, or there's products like Emerald Harvest has HydroClear is a new one that I've been recommending a lot to people, which also has properties like that, Biofilm Buster Plus, and large ag when they're running stuff like this through their feed lines that are miles long, they're using the same thing. They're using microbes to break that stuff down. So that's
Nice.
you need an organic approach to organic buildup, right?
Makes
So
sense.
a lot of these organic guys that are doing, they got 1,000 Autopots out there somewhere in a greenhouse, and they got super soil, and they're running organics through their res and their 1,000-foot lines and having a
No.
lot of success with. Or no, they don't do that.
They don't. No, generally it's going to be just water through that. And I
Okay.
mean, look, these are large, very expensive systems that are running through multiple rooms. Being through facilities, and generally, even when they approach the plan, it's going to be water. And what they'll do is, and there's manpower behind this, is they'll come through physically top feed the plants. I've had some people that have done this properly, and I like going this way. Is occasional supplementing through your built-in irrigation system with some of these organics. But generally their approach is to have as much as they can in the soil, and there's a lot of R&D that goes into making sure that these soils can get them through, not just get them through, but produce high quality flowers. Because you're coming to market and you're competing with a lot of people, and oftentimes people that are pushing high salts through their fertigation systems, and so they have to put a lot of research development behind it. But in answer to your question, often it's just water, and then part of the SOP will be coming through once every couple weeks, sometimes with some sort of supplementing tea or whatever it might be, and that's going to go through the top of the pot a lot of the time. But the option is there to run through your existing system, but you just have to be careful with how you do that, and bacteria buildup and all the nooks and crannies coming in, from these lines, the 30 feet up in the top of these rooms, pumping through, $40,000 equipment, that it's coming through. So you just have to be mindful of that and have a plan if you're going to approach it that way. And it can be done, but the majority of the time it is just going to be water running through these systems with these larger facilities.
Well, that's kind of. I had no idea that like people running facilities with autopots do it that way, but it's interesting that like that's the same exact approach I take as an organic guy with my autopots. It's just you don't want to have to think about any of that shit clogging up a line, and I can't even imagine having 1,000 plants plus. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, yeah, you can't keep an eye on all that
It's
stuff,
still
man.
traditional irrigation lines. Like if you're running the common stuff out there, it's still going to be 1/4 inch. So our line is standard 3/8 inch. So we're already
Yeah.
bigger than the 1/4 inch standard line. So in that clogging those lines is a problem that happens all of the time with people that are doing this. And this is something that you have to work through, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like, just the water in the res seems to be like the way to go for organic guys. And that really does leave it down to like your particular soil blend as really one of the secrets that'll be whether you have a lot of success or a moderate level of success. Because let's face it, you're not going to like fail with autopots. It's just going to kind of like, even if you're the worst grower ever, it'll like limping to the finish line, just because your plants will be watered the whole time. You know what I mean? Like they're
Clean up some
even
of
if
your
they yeah, even if they're starved of nutrition, they're gonna at least have water, so they're gonna do their thing. But if you have the nutrition dialed in, and that's from an organic perspective a little tougher,
Mhm.
um, especially when you're already diluting your medium with like an aeration kind of thing
Right.
to improve the wicking. Now, it's the one product that I use that uh, there's more than one, okay, but like 90% this one product from Build a Soil is called the Craft Nutrient Blend. That
Mhm.
is all you need. All you need. You throw a couple cups of that into your soil blend. You already have a nice fresh soil out of a bag or something like Stonington Blend or Ocean Forest, whatever you like to use.
Right.
Add a little bit extra perlite, rice hulls, lava rock, whatever you use for aeration, and then a couple scoops of that nutrient blend, and that'll be really what you need to carry you. And
So, and I wanted to ask you guys, just out of my curiosity, are you using any like pre-bagged living soils ever and trying those out that where you're not amending it too much? And like, how does that compare to what you're doing now as far as the soils that you're building?
so I do use the Stonington blend
Right.
from Coast of Maine.
Very popular, yeah.
Um, that's the one I like to
What
use a
what do
lot,
you
but I
use, G3?
I use Stonington as well. I use a mix of Stonington and then some slightly less hot thing like Happy Frog, or I prefer Roots Organic, but I have a hard time getting that lately. And then perlite and cocoa mixed in 15 to 20% of those.
Nice. How is Stonington as far as like pests go? Like, are you
Ugh.
bringing, is that
Yes,
tough?
fungus gnats,
Right.
100% of the time.
always get fungus gnats with
Always.
it. But that's
Always,
with
always,
like
always.
almost any bagged soil. Let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's there's various ways you can eliminate that, but like yeah, you're gonna get them.
Hmm. No doubt. No doubt. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's a popular combination. Again, like I talk about these emerging markets and guys just jumping into the system and wanting success. And there's some pre-bagged stuff that'll work really well. Some mild supplementation might be needed, but like, Sohum, we work a lot with them and newer growers using that. Um, Detroit Nutrient Company, water only is another one. Coast of
Yep.
Maine is a popular one.
They're getting real popular. The Detroit,
Yeah.
like they're bursting. They're coming up more and more and more. Like in my travels.
They're a great company, man. I mean, the owner of the company, Tommy, is one of the best dudes I know out in the industry, man. And he's the only one of the only motherfuckers that like puts his own personal number on the bag. When you buy the bag, it's his freaking cell phone number. You call it, you get him on the phone, which is crazy because it's a big company. He sells in many states all over the country, and the dude's
Wow.
just but
Transparency right there, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but that's great, and I love seeing that. That's a lot of like that takes a lot of work, but it means you really believe in what you're doing.
That is
You know.
cool. Now, the kind of the catch with any of those bagged living soils, the super soils, right? Even Stonington Blend, Sohum, Detroit Nutrient Company. Um, I know I've seen more.
Yeah.
Can't,
M3.
yeah, M3 mix. There's more even too. It's funny. They keep coming out, but now they all do work as a water only kind of soil, but you need a huge container, like more than a 10-gallon pot. So I feel like the 13-gallon, if you do want to do a true water only grow, that's what you're going to want to get.
Yeah. Well,
Like
the owners of those companies are calling me every once in a while. I'm gonna say pretty often, asking me when this is coming out.
I know,
So
I bet, because it's like even even the best living soils, man, they just don't have enough juice to get you through a full run.
yeah,
These are high feeding plants, and it's a
there
reality
are
of
growers that
how
that
it works.
contact me and are happy with the results. But again, newer guys. But at the end of the day, with their environment, the lighting they're using, they're a lot of oftentimes how much are they going to get out of that soil, you know? But once everything's tuned in, yeah, you know, you're gonna exhaust what's in
Yeah.
there. Depending
If
on
you're under any of the modern lighting fixtures that they sell, like the LED lights, powerful lights in a tent, you're going to be driving your plants like very hard, and
Mhm,
to not supplement them in any way with
right,
even a 6.6 gallon pot of soil, I found that you're going to run out.
yeah,
It's just a reality. So, um, but it just it'll get you there still. Like there's really you can do it, and it'll get you there. But
yeah. I've
it
been
might.
playing around with this tricantanol product lately. If you guys are familiar with tricantanol, and
No.
that's another thing. You start introducing that, and then you're just amping up the metabolism of your plant, and you're going to use a lot more of what's in the pot, a lot more of your lighting. Like you ever use alfalfa in your mixes?
Okay. Yeah.
I hear
Yeah.
that's an excellent food for microbes, better than molasses.
Right, and then that'll give off tricantanol as well, which is naturally occurring, you know, in plants, and you can find it in beeswax, and it's basically like speed for plants. You know, it's
Oh,
organic.
shit.
Yeah, so I've been using this product here called Herps Up, and it's like the highest concentration of tricantanol in solution that you can find. And I've been like giving it some other people because a buddy of mine has been working on this recipe for like 2 years and trying to stabilize it. Because the whole problem with tricantanol, which is used in some products like Canna Boost and other products out there, but it's at low concentrations, and use alfalfa as well in organic building soils and stuff. But we can never just get enough of it to get its full benefit. But this product that we've been messing around with, and I'm seeing soils just pulling everything out way earlier, exhausting it way earlier than we were before, just so the plant is just utilizing more. So in these instances too, as you introduce stuff like that, it's just going to exhaust these soils more. So larger volume is going to be helpful to guys that are really tuned in and looking at stuff like that. So um, if you guys want to sample this stuff, I'll shoot you some as
Oh
well.
fuck yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Right. Yeah.
absolutely.
one of the best products I've seen like
What is
in
it? Terps
years.
up.
Terps
I've
Up.
never heard of it. Yeah,
Terps up.
It's brand new. I mean, it's been sold in Canada for a while, but
see,
it's in the U.S. now, and um,
it's usually the other way around, isn't it? Like, I've never heard of a product that started in Canada and then came to US. It's usually the other way around.
manufacturing's in Canada as well for it, and the agronomist and chemist is is actually in Australia. I've known him for a long time. He's a brilliant dude, but it was all about stabilizing the tricantanol because that's been the hardest thing. It's like really thick and gunky, just by
Mm.
nature. So a stabilizing agent and then a delivery mechanism, a molecule to get it into the plant properly was the whole thing around this, and that hasn't really been done before. But and this is a growth regulator, which usually has a negative connotation, but here it's organic, and it's not doing what other PGRs might do. They're synthetic and could be carcinogens. This is like
It's not like paclobuterol. You know what I
no,
mean?
not Paclo, right? Right, it's not Paclo, which is that's the big one that people are like iffy
You'll
about.
get rock hard nugs with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, crazy
It's
weight.
funny when I see, like, I can just see right away. I'm like Paclo bud. Like you can
Mhm.
just tell by looking at it. Like it's like super tight. It's got like next to no smell.
Yeah,
The
the
terps
oils.
are all gone.
Yeah, the oils get stripped by
Mhm.
Paclo. Right.
Yeah, and it's just like
So
it looks great bag appeal. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
yeah,
tricantanol is
terrible.
like the opposite. It's the other side of that hormonal
Hmm.
spectrum, right? So where
Yep.
we're bringing more terpenes, we're bringing more oils out of the plant, and then ultimately speeding up the metabolism of the plant to take in more light, take in more nutrients, take in, so um yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's some pretty cool stuff, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting
Yeah.
just where they came up with figuring out like plants that were growing next to like big bales of alfalfa hay, like out in like farms and stuff, were just like exploding, and they were like, what the fuck is going on? And that's when people started introducing alfalfa into their soils, but you can only pull
Interesting.
so much out of it. Yeah, but I'll give you guys some. Let me tell me what you think about it, because it's one of my friends has been working on this for a long time, and it's I mean, I've it's one of the best products I've seen in a long time, next to
Oh,
next
yeah.
to maybe like
Well,
a handful of others that I've seen over the next 10 years, because aside from that, everything is just like a recreation of other things. They're just refining something else that's been done already.
that's cool. That's cool. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the craft nutrient blend that I spoke of as one of my favorite like soil amendments has alfalfa in it.
Right.
Has pretty much everything you could want.
Well talks about that. I read a good article on their website like a couple weeks ago on alfalfa. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got everything in there thrown together. So it's like it works. Shit works, and it's cost effective, I will say too.
Yeah. No, those guys' platform is awesome. The YouTube channel, the website, everything they're doing is like that model is it's really beneficial for growers. All the information given, and then it also
It
has
is.
it also
Now,
I
what
even
I
enjoy watching the content, and I grow with salts,
Right.
so
dude, he just explains shit really well. But now what I have been trying to do is connect the dots for people too. I don't know if it's that apparent to people that, like I said, Autopots are an organic earth box, or I'm sorry, an automated earth box.
Yeah.
Like it is that style exactly, just automated. Think of it that way.
That's
You
what
just
it is.
have an,
And we bring in a very small volume of water because remember the pot is displacing a lot of water. So it's really just that area around the valve that's filling up, and that's 400 mils. Like it's not a lot. So it's just constant, you know, ebb and then ebb and then ebb. It's not ebb and flow, it's just ebb absorption. So that's the beauty around it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's such a cool system.
Yeah. The tough thing, like you were saying before, you said dinosaurs. I call them old heads, and it's getting them to take the step and try it and just shut up about everything that they think and be like, dude, I'm not going to argue with you, but how about you give me a little bit of space and try these things out, And like you can show me all the articles you want, but then there's real life, and like
the same thing with the HPS and LED. Like if you're still using HPS, I'm sorry, they're
Mhm.
not as good as modern LEDs. They're just not. In order to get better results, you have to run a bit warmer than you did with your HPS, and they never do. So they're like, these LEDs suck. My plants just didn't respond. Yeah, and that's usually the number one reason is they run their rooms a little too cool, and they don't take advantage of the LED,
right.
which will in turn you're using at least 40% less power in the long run, which means less air conditioning. Um, it's a win-win overall. And yeah, I run into it all the time. Same thing with auto flowers. Like, people think that those are still shit because they were shit like 6-7 years ago. Like maybe probably a little bit longer than that. They were shit. And they've come a long way, but yeah.
Yeah, I like them. I've been on the autoflower train for a few years now, a couple of years myself. Just because they've been producing for me and they're easy, and my life's too crazy to zero in too hard on what I'm doing, So yeah, the
They're a
autoflower.
little fail proof, like
Yeah,
autoflowers and autopots, guys.
a lot of
It's
people have done a lot of work. There's a lot of work that goes behind these things in the genetic world, and what breeders do, and it's people need to give them credit for all the work that goes into what comes out of the end product that everybody benefits.
Yeah, people just think of like lowrider and like, it's basically ruderalis was a ditchweed. Um, and the whole point is to give you that autoflower, trait, but give you a lot of the characteristics of a photo. And they're still not 100% there. I mean, look, they still have produced really great smoke though, and there's a lot of them that you couldn't even tell the difference
Mhm.
if grown right. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, 100%.
all right, Manny. So here's my my personal like research and development suggestion for you as my one issue still that I'm struggling with autopots is I love to grow a variety of different strains. Like I don't do a monocrop, you know what I mean? It's all different plants, different heights, different sativas, indicas, all the above. So is there an easy way for me to like raise the reservoir, enable me to like raise individual plants at maybe just like a foot, if it gave me like a foot of clearance to raise my smaller plants up just a little bit,
So
it would really
pertaining
help.
to height, particularly, right? The different height of these
Hmm.
plants. Speaking to, yeah, and it's a method that I like a lot, and I push a lot of my commercial guys towards this. But what you'd want to implement is a small header tank, right? And this tank, in theory, for your setup, could be 3 gallons, right?
Okay.
Elevate it in your room, elevate it, put a shelf up, whatever you got to do. That header tank would have an autofill valve on it, or a ball cock valve that would keep that tank full. So it's always full, 3 gallons water, always. You have that pressure. And then
Gotcha.
on the floor, you have your main tank where you have access to the same tank you always use. You'll have pipe work coming up to your small header tank with an autofill valve, and that's talking to the pump inside of the tank, keeping that 3 gallon tank full. Again, this is in your scenario, but I have larger facilities that have huge, 3 level racks with, yeah, like 70 plants on each rack. And we can still get away with a 5-10 gallon tank as long as it stays full in theory. And that tank will stay full, and then it'll just gravity feed down to the rest of your plants.
Okay.
So
So
the header,
A lot of RO systems work the same way, like
right?
commercial reverse osmosis systems.
Absolutely,
You have that
yeah.
like header tank.
wow.
Yeah.
And you can get autofill valves like pretty easily on Amazon that are inexpensive. Oftentimes, are even used for like animal, like livestock feed, to keep their water tanks full. And those are simple autofill valves. You just put at the top of your header tank, connect that down to a pump, and you just keep that header tank full. You'll be good. You can raise those plants as high as you want.
So I can still just manually fill that big reservoir like I
Correct.
have been with, whatever
Correct.
tap. I've just been using tap water, man. Honestly, that's why I love this system, because it's like it lets me be even lazier than I was as a gardener, which I
Yeah.
didn't even think was possible. But like, yeah, it's so no, this is a great idea. So then I could theoretically I'd have a tank, up on a shelf, which gives me like, how high do you think it would have to be to give
Not
me just a foot of clearance?
Honestly, not too high, because the scenarios I use this in are usually, larger scenarios. In your scenario, I mean, it wouldn't have to be. You could have it at like eye level, really, so you still have good access to it. And then from there, that would just come. You would just have your line that feeds down, your main line that feeds down to your pots, and you'd be fine.
All
And
right,
to
so
set up all together, I mean, it wouldn't even cost you that much. It wouldn't be that hard to put together.
now that sounds. I mean, honestly, you had the idea, solution right on the dot. Like you're a smart man, Manny. But now my
Double check
next question is: so
time.
let's say that the tube comes down from the tank,
Mhm.
and it goes below the aqua valve, and then like comes back up
Mhm.
through the smaller tube. You know what I mean? The quarter inch. Is that still going to work? It just
Absolutely.
provides the pressure from the top, and it'll fill it
Absolutely.
up
100%.
to the height of that reservoir, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't have any issue. Yeah, you'd have
Hell yeah,
actually you'd have probably stronger pressure than you have now.
fucking
So
Is
right,
there a
man.
point you could have too much pressure? I asked Luke this question. I think he told me
yeah,
yes.
well, yeah. I mean, look, there's an equation for height, tank size, psi
Mhm.
that you can find pretty easily. I'm not going to have it off the top of my brain right now, but it's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that
yeah.
I have to implement pretty
It'd
often.
be really hard to do, I would imagine.
It is. I mean, look, but it can happen in larger scenarios that I deal with, but oftentimes, that it's that we can handle that pressure. The valve, honestly, I've seen the valve handle up to like 19 psi and not
Wow.
budge, but I would never suggest that. I usually want to keep it around under 10, around 6 to 8, you know. And a lot of our larger clients, we speak here about the simplicity of the system, and it's designed as a gravity feed system, but when I got guys running 15,000 autopots through a facility, they can't just rely on gravity, and they're going to pressurize the whole system. And we'll have pressure compensation, you know, prior to reaching each room and prior to reaching every level of a rack or every level of a rolling bench, and bringing that PSI back down at that 6 to 8 level, you
Do you
know.
really think they need to pressurize their lines?
I try to
Because
talk them
I've had some pretty long runs before, like close to close to 150 feet, with reservoirs,
Like,
like
no, no, no,
reservoirs
sir.
indoor.
Your money would be well better spent elsewhere, sir. I assure you.
Yeah, yeah. Like
I
I've had reservoirs inside a home, and the tube goes, like I said, like 100, 150 feet down into a garage,
right.
without any issues. So
No, water will find its lowest point. I'm having the conversation all the time to people dropping millions of dollars into what they're doing in fertigation, and I'm trying to push them into this header tank stuff that we were just talking about. Because I think that the simplicity is elegant and it's efficient, and it's going to cause less problems down the line because you move into pressurization, as you talked before, in other fertigation systems, and equalizing pressure, taking back pressure into consideration if there's no runoff. These things can get a lot more complicated, and oftentimes the people developing these facilities are not growers, where the money is, and the people making the decisions aren't even listening to the growers half the time, and they're making all kinds of mistakes. So if they go into this header tank method and use gravity, they're going to have less issues. So I have this conversation all the time, but the majority of the time people don't listen, and they do go to pressurization, and then we'll build out facilities, and then there might be issues down the line, and then I have to come back in and help them, or I have now consultants that I just pass that on to, that they can pay because I already told them not to do it. So, and I make it very clear beforehand. But like
Like,
you were saying, man, we have clients, Autopot is sold all around the world. We have, over 70 countries now. And we have, food crop production in the Caribbean, in Africa, in different countries where, you'll have a quarter-mile long feed line. It's just gravity, off a very large tank going a quarter mile, and it gets to every pot. Everything gets fed. So if it can work in that scenario, it can work in other scenarios. So it's
gravity's been working for billions of years. Why would
right.
it stop? Well, unless you have a clog or something preventing it from getting to the lowest point,
Right.
it's going to do just that.
And this is just the simplicity is effective, efficient, and elegant when used properly, and sometimes overcomplicating things just for the sake of overcomplicating things, because how is not going to help you. What matters is getting the job done, and doing it right. So guys that can swallow their ego and look at things the right way, will benefit from that greatly in this industry, and it's not something that I see to be the norm.
Of course not.
Yeah,
People push back.
they do, and it causes all kinds of problems, and I can't even get into you and some of
Ah,
the
listen, when you
conversations
you
and
get a
arguments.
little bit of of a name for yourself in this industry, you start to you know, start to tell people on Instagram to piss off when they just try to be a nice friend and correct your pronunciation of a common word. You're like,
It's an
geez,
enemy of progress, man. It's an enemy
crazy.
of progress. This type of cultivation is not one that's been mainstream for a long time, especially in the U.S. And sorry, the U.S. is usually the foreground, the front line of progress for a lot of things in engineering, all the things that we do. So we just haven't had the time behind this. So just to assume that the way we've been doing things is the right way is it's silly. It's not smart. People need to be
Well,
more open. And as you guys, there's a lot of bro science. There's a lot of guys that just can't swallow. Can't, their ego's too big, and it just gets in the way of progress. And this is something for me I could talk on about for a long time, man. Because Autopot is you guys, and as you said, Captain, before, the hesitancy into jumping into something that was foreign to you. There was some hesitancy, but you were able to make the move, and that wall is something that I face a lot, and I have to talk to people about. So, and just so happens, out of all the states in the US, one of the hardest states for us to penetrate is like Colorado, you know,
oh
because
yeah, yeah.
the
Well,
hydroculture
They
there
were
forever, and they don't
one of
mm,
the
want
first legal markets.
right.
so
Dude,
crazy. Like even like Rasta Jeff grows with salts out there. Isn't that nuts?
yeah.
Like, he's a dude with big dreadlocks, and he's like, dumping bottles into his. It's just like I thought
I'm
you'd
pretty
be
sure
organics.
I'm pretty
Dreadlocks
sure
are kind of
you guys
like,
got him a system in his hands. I don't think he ever used it.
no, well, it's
Yeah.
what it is.
Man, it's why. But like, I think for all the noobs out there, like that, and that is kind of one of the things with the dinosaurs. That's one of the reasons they get resentful with the newer generation of growers. People can just start on a whim and listen to a couple podcasts like Cultivation Conversation. You get some really good info from some friendly, skilled growers. Get yourself an autopot system. Get yourself a couple night owl autoflower beans.
Mhm.
And then in 12 weeks, you're going to grow better weed than 99% of the people out there that have been trying to do this shit for decades. It's as simple as that. And they're going to get pissed off about it because they don't understand that it can be that easy. It really can.
You know what I get pushed back on the most is the tray system.
Okay.
People are so like it's very intriguing for people because of its cost of entry, right? You just buy an aqua valve and you put it in a tray with a weighted cover,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And people are like, "Well, I don't get it. Like that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's too simple. Like if that were the case, why would people buy pots?" And I'm like, "Well, they're in a large facility. You're going to have plants that are going to want to drink at different levels, and especially like for Captain, who runs like a bunch of different crosses or different strains, you're not going to want them all in one tray feeding off one valve. But that system is that effective. You know, the kid who got me into Autopots, QB grower, he's the one who preached Autopots to me for a long time. He's a breeder over in our Brothers and Farms, and he uses the tray system now. Just one valve, and it just works. It
does.
but people push back on that one a lot. They're like, I don't get it. Like that's
Well,
it. I'm like, that's it. It's
we
that simple.
Yeah, we developed that in conjunction with um, large facilities, high density cultivation, vertically tiered, and it was specific to what they were doing. And also, once you get to that 10,000 mark and above of plant count, you know, cleaning 10,000 valves requires a number of employees and like high end equipment. So if you can get one valve for every 9 plants, it's almost a tenth of the valves, right? So it's there's a lot of other thought that goes into this, and like, the theory that you mentioned, that each individual plant, their own valve, and the whole thought behind that, it's solid and it works. But then I see these tray systems, man, and I see the results out of them, and it's just like even canopies and great production. They work, but
Yeah,
I tend to like the individual modules more myself. But in certain scenarios, it's just not practical. And
yeah.
you got
I
to
think
think,
for like a tent, like it's kind of a perfect system, really.
right,
For like a small tent. I mean, especially if you're pheno hunting.
right.
Um,
That's what Daz is doing.
when I
Daz has a lot
yeah
of
yeah
the tray
when
systems.
when I set them up for people, there's one
That's
thing I
right.
do. I usually cover the top with like a poly film and just cut slits for the pots.
There you go.
Once
Oh,
the
it is all
canopy fills, it's
right.
not. Yeah, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So once the canopy is full, it's not a problem. But during the beginning, you will get some like algae growth and stuff like that because it's grow lights hitting water.
Right.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
So.
And
Yeah, generally the
shout
canopy can help you there, but yeah, the poly and just cutting holes is super easy. And then of course, we have the covers on the tray systems. The Auto 5, I don't know if you've seen the Auto 5 tray system. So that's a 4x4 tray, just a flat tray, no channels like the Auto 9. And then we just made a cover to go over it to hold, to hold or sorry, 5 9-gallon pots. But that size volume pot, it's more geared towards organics, in my opinion. So yeah.
Nice. I just want to give a shout out to Mac Attack Gardens out there, who is running the tray system. Couple photo periods in a tent, and he's killing it. Just like Monster suggests, with the little bit of panda film over top. Yeah, it's doing amazing.
I
Yeah.
just say like make a bed, like like you're putting
Yeah.
a sheet on a bed. You want the nice tight, a
Mhm.
little bit of white Gorilla tape works for me.
Yeah.
Um, and cut some little X's just big enough for your pots. Put them in,
Yeah.
good to go.
A
And
barrier.
another one for your valve. So you can
Yeah,
get in
yeah,
there
and
quick.
a barrier for debris and light, and our easy to go kits are really cool, man. It's just a little kit. It comes with the valve cover, valve, some tubing, um, a reducer, and a couple fittings. And people get super creative with those and use them in all kinds of ways.
Mm, yeah.
Usually pre-veg, yeah, I see, but people use them to grow, giant plants too. You guys are talking about the largest plant you see, and I had a guy in Rhode Island using these our easy to go kits, and he made, like, he'd get a big saucer and then he'd put another saucer over it, and then he'd cut a hole in that and drop a 20-gallon plastic pot in there, and that dude would put 1.5 lights per plant, and he was growing like 11-foot plants out of his own autopot. They were gigantic. He's pulling these crazy, long veg times and shit. But
Yeah, he's probably limited on plant count, and he wants to. This is his way to get the
correct.
most weight. Yeah.
Yeah, old school dude too, just doing the
Mhm.
But yeah, he would pull crazy harvests off it. But he'd have like two, not even two a year. So
Before I get into my next question, I just wanted to, because we are running a little late here. I don't want to keep you all night. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Look, just the YouTube channel. If we're gonna have a lot of really good content on there that I think people will really enjoy and kind of open up, just a lot of tips from us and content we've made, but also taking a look inside of larger facilities and the SOP around using autopots in larger levels and people that have really put a lot of thought behind it. And then the XXL, which we touched on as well, which will be coming soon. And honestly, you guys will have it in your hands probably before anybody else, so you can show it and talk about it. You know,
Awesome.
so yeah.
Do you
Oh,
have a little bit more
shit.
time? Because there's just a couple of things I wanted to
Yeah.
talk
No, no.
about.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Good.
The all your products are awesome, but the one that's really like changed my life is the easy to propagate system.
Okay.
I mean, that product is just fucking awesome. I mean, I was like an arrow cloner guy, and I loved arrow cloners, but the problem with them is you got to babysit them, right? You
Right.
really got to babysit them. Like every day, you got to peek in there and look. Sometimes they leak and fucking the pH drift or emitters clog, right? And I was never a big fan of the clone dome kind of style of cloning, because you had to stay on top of the cubes, being moist. And the easy to propagate system, I get roots in like 7 days sometimes. Like
Mhm.
no problem. I just did a video on it. I took, um, your traditional like cube clone thing with like root riot cubes. Then I took just cups with slits cutting them in just straight cocoa and put them all on there, and they all rooted in like 7 days.
Mhm.
And it was just amazing how quickly everything worked. Everything rooted, and I don't have to babysit them. The cubes just stay perfectly moist. Yeah, it's been a game. Plus, I had like 3 or 4 cloners. Like if I want to cut 50 clones, I can cut like way more than that now. It's a big system. Luke had mentioned that there's a smaller one as well, which I wasn't aware of. But yeah, if you just kind of wanted to talk about that system a little bit.
Well, look, like what you said, and this is one of my points that I make to people as they're considering this, or I'm teaching them about it. Is it's a fragile environment to be an arrow cloner. It's fragile. Things, if you're not on top of it, things can change very quickly, and you're just at risk. The fact of the matter is, when you are cultivating at a high quantity, you need stability in what you're doing in the most important area you're doing it. This is where your stock starts, in propagation. So this system is going to provide you a lot of leeway with that, and the plants are more stable. Point, like once they do get rooted, and they're doing well, if you're not ready to transplant, just take the dome off, and they can sit there and chill and feed and do great. One thing that I will point to, though, and just in all honesty, is if you're going to leave that system on all the time, I'd point people towards like Root Riot, and that those kind of propagation medias, because compared to rock wool, rock wool will take on a lot more water in that scenario, and people have less luck and less luck with that unless they massage the system and turn it on and off here and there. So I try to push people towards that Root Riot style of
Yeah,
propagation.
Rapper Rooters, Root Riot, they're like all the
Right?
same.
Yeah, those are my
I just
favorite. They
have
always have been.
I like Root Riot the best. They seem to be like the most consistently. Sometimes the Rapid Rooters are like oddly sized, like they just don't fit in the hole.
Right.
But anyway, you pretty much get the same results with either. It's
And,
like an inner
and
medium plug.
I like those because you can just keep the system on, and it's like you said, that the results and the time it cuts down on, and seeing these plants root is awesome. Just like light MPK in the tank, a little rooting hormones, and you're good to
I
go. And
actually run a bloom mix.
really,
Yeah,
okay,
and it's been that changed my game as well. I started doing that about a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. Um, and it seems to give me really good results.
cool. Yeah, it's a
high
great system.
high phosphorus.
We talk about all our other products a lot, and I don't get a chance to really talk about that easy to propagate too often. But it's an awesome system, man, and it's kind of a head turner. Like somebody sees it, like they walk into your setup, and they're like, "What the fuck? What is that
Yeah.
thing?" You know, like I've never seen a propagation dome that big. Why is there a tube going into it? What's that box? You know, like what's going on in here?
A little 6-gallon reservoir too. I have,
Yeah,
for lack of a better word, it's cute,
yeah,
man. It's just like this
yeah,
little freaking thing. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
it's cool. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no.
Now,
Did you get one of those after the last time we talked? Was that what it was? Like, wasn't it the
Yeah,
last?
yeah, I got one, and it's been a game changer for me.
No doubt. No
Really,
doubt.
like it's it's awesome. It because cloning really was one of the most stressful parts
Mhm.
of what I do. It
Right.
really was. Like it was one of those things I kind of had to like babysit. Like now, like I've recently had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life with my in-laws, and it's taken a lot of my time.
Mhm.
I there's just no way like I would be able to have successful cuttings in an aero cloner
Yeah,
or
and
any type of cloner, really.
if you push that forward, man, I mean, we have guys that are running lots of clones, and there's people, that are just make a business out of selling clones and plants, and when you can have 2 employees manage thousands of cuts at the same time, I mean that's huge when we start expanding this out. And that's what you can do, especially if you tier these 3 to 4 on a rack, put them on wheels, water source up top, just start moving them around very easily, rolling them around, and what it's been able to do for like guys I talk to in larger facilities is oftentimes these guys that are managing the propagation area, they have to come in on the weekends, and they have to be there. Once they introduce this system, then people get weekends off, and once 2
that's
employees, they manage a very large stock of young plants, whether they're
That's it right there, man. That's the Autopot advantage in all facets of
right,
growing. Take your life back. It
right.
lets the plants feed themselves. It lets the plants do their thing naturally. They have access to water. It's
Mhm.
like basically like they would in nature. You know what I mean?
Precisely.
Um, it's a beautiful thing. Now, did you mention that you're coming out with a smaller, easy to what
Already
is it?
out.
Easy to
Yeah.
clone,
We've had
Easy
it
to
for a
propagate.
while. It's not something we feature
easy
a
to
lot, but
propagate.
it is a bit. Yeah, it is available. I mean, it's our XL propagation dome. It's just a larger, thick, high quality dome. It's not nearly as big as the 4-foot dome for the easy to propagate system, but we've had it available for a long time. Not something we sell very often. The easy to propagate
That's
sells more.
that's the other thing that I really like about it. I remember calling you when I first got it. I'm like, this thing is awesome. I can't get the lid to like it just kind of just like sits on there. He's like, yeah, you got to snap it in. I'm like,
Like it.
whoa, like
Yeah,
it's just so well built.
it,
Like it's
it's
just
the best dome I've
quality.
ever seen.
Yeah.
I mess up propagation domes all the time because they're so flimsy, and this
Mhm.
one is heavy duty. And we made it so it
Yeah.
fits perfectly on that 4-foot by 2-foot tray because you got to snap it, and then you
Mhm.
get that because it's about humidity, man.
Yeah.
You can't approach it without it being precise,
Mhm.
know. And the humidity controls on top aren't those shitty little plastic ones because I lose those and I end up putting tape over, you know. And then as I harden off, I start peeling the tape back over the humidity controls that I lose. These aren't going anywhere. They're like hard plastic humidity controls on the top.
Yeah,
So
and they have a real nice like feel to them. Like they snap like
they
in
do.
place. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Listen,
super high quality.
everything from Autopot is like the Cadillac of any grow equipment you could get, man. When I took this shit out of the box, it was like, yeah, you could feel the quality, even in the plastic parts. I mean, every little piece is
Yeah.
engineered with like pretty precise tolerances. It looks great.
Oh,
That's
we
what you know
appreciate
you're gonna get with
we really
Autopot.
appreciate that.
You know,
I
you're
honestly like thank you guys so much for what you say. And I know you mean it, and we work really, really hard to make sure that we keep that level of quality in everything that we do, and we don't want to cut any corners going forward, when it comes to any of this stuff. So,
I think that
always.
it's Autopot USA. I think Luke told me there's like less than 20 people running that whole show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so we got to 20
That's
during
Ooh,
fucking
COVID.
that's fucking incredible. Like, you
Yeah.
guys are busting your ass.
I
You're a,
mean,
a
Um,
model
it
to like
it used to
other
just be
grow companies.
me. It used to just
Just
be
saying.
me and like 2 people. Like, we expanded it out.
Holy shit.
But no, now this is the biggest market for Autopot in the world. And mind you, Autopot is probably the most popular product in hydro in the UK and lots of Europe. But this is the biggest market, and also this is the US, man. We fucking do things right here. So it's just gonna get bigger, and
Oh, yeah.
we're pushing forward. We just hired a new sales rep who's working the Midwest. His name is Matt, Chef Matt. He's from the corporate chef world. He was helping chefs grow with autopots in their high-end kitchens, herbs on the easy to propagates.
Hell
He wanted
yeah.
people just growing their own
oh,
high-end herbs and
microgreens? That's a
microgreens
perfect system for
in the back of
microgreens.
the house,
Yeah.
dude, in the prep
Mm.
kitchen, just like pulling them. They're growing super fast, and you don't have to worry about people delivering them and stuff. You can grow them yourself, and he's just like super on point. He's a new guy who's going to be hitting the streets pretty hard for us, and we're hoping
Cool.
for big things out here. I just want to get. And you guys are really big advocates for this, and again, I always appreciate it, and I know it's genuine from y'all, but we just want to get the word out there and get more people on it, and whatever we got to
It
do to
really
do
is a game changer. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's truly a game changer. You got to take your life back.
it changed my life, man. That's
plants
for
do it,
sure. It
for
gives you a
sure.
lot. We were gonna make a T-shirt a long time ago. It was a slogan we were talking about. It was "Take your weekends back." Autopot, take your weekends back on the back of the shirt.
I love it.
Because
I love
growers
it.
are stuck at their house, man. They can't go anywhere. that was me. That was me.
And
Like,
any kind of family drama crops up, I had it myself.
Mhm.
Life happens. Life
Right.
happens. And if you got plants that are like 5 weeks into flower, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You got to go somewhere for 5 days, just unexpected. I mean, really.
I mean,
I
think
got
about it like this:
plants
the
back.
time when you want a vacation the most is the summer, and that's when your plants drink the most.
right.
So it's like, good
Right.
luck, but without some sort of automated system. Yeah.
A lot of our retailers keep on the counter. We have a display. It holds a bunch of easy to go kits, and that's for the guys that come in. They're like, "Shit, I have a funeral, and I don't trust anybody to water my plants. What the fuck am I gonna do?" And they're like, "You just need to grab one of these kits for each one of your plants, an oversized saucer, and one of these tanks." And every time they switch their thing over, their grow over to that, they never take it down. They just
No, why would you?
you know
Yeah.
so
No,
it's
why
one of
would
those
you?
things, like, these stores have these in place, and people don't come in asking for it. They just come in with a problem, and they're like, well, here's the solution to your problem. These easy to go kits. You can't just set up an autopot system here, but you can drop one of these in the saucer for one of your plants, and hook up the system.
That's a
It's
gateway drug, is what that is.
Yeah, crack model. We love it. We're hustlers, man. We like this crack model. It's
it's
good.
so great. Now, if
Yeah.
you're a grower, like, and you're growing for any duration of time, you are going to run into that problem eventually. Where just like life gets in your way, and it's you know, you gotta get on the automated watering train, is what I'm saying. And Autopot is the Cadillac of ways to do it. So
The way things are now, it's hard to just be a grower. You usually it's a side hustle, or you got a 9 to 5, or you got a job. You're not just a grower. So, your life can't revolve around the feeding schedule of your plants. You got to step into automation because you got other shit going on. And if you don't, good for you. Like, that's awesome. But most people have got some other shit going on, so you got to
I
find
love the
some.
people that will say, "Oh, I love spending time with my plants, so I like hand watering." And my argument with that is, well, you could spend more time with your plants if you weren't hand watering.
Right. Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
really can. When you free yourself from just that labor, you can do the stuff that really matters
Yeah.
in the grow. You know,
Do a visual check on the valves, once every couple days, defoliation, check whatever meters you have in the room. There's no reason that you can't do that. That's a bad excuse. So
well,
yeah.
one thing I've found since getting the Autopot system is that I have a way cleaner grow room because it just gives me more time. I'm up there. I'm not laboring over just giving my plants water, and
Mhm.
it truly was a labor. And I didn't mind doing it. It's a labor of love sort of thing. But like, man, just take that away after the novelty wears off. you got a couple crops under your belt. It's just like, all right, take this away from me. Like, let someone else do it.
Right.
And who better to do that than the plants themselves? They just take as much as they want. No timers, no electricity, no pumps, and it's truly a fucking awesome system, man. So I applaud you, and yeah, really want to thank you for coming on. This was like Autopot 401 lesson out there for all
Yeah.
people.
Thank you
I don't
guys, man. I
think we
appreciate
got
it.
into some pretty advanced stuff. That was cool.
You got an
Yeah.
open invitation, Manny. Anytime you want to come on, you know you're
Cool.
welcome.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's cool kidding with you guys. Maybe one day in person in the future. We'll see what's up because
So,
Yeah.
I ain't too far, man. I'm here in New York City, or if you're ever in the city, holler at me. But I enjoy it, dude, and this is the kind of medium that we need because it's an education thing for us, and conversations I've been having with my new representative is our biggest barrier is that people don't know that this is an option. We just want to be an option considered with other options when it comes to automation. And a lot of guys are sitting in their local hydroponic store and thinking about how they're going to step in automation, and oftentimes it's just not a consideration. We just want to be in the mix. We don't have to be the choice. We want to be one of the options. Is it going to be, current culture, Floraflex? We just want Autopot to be right there next to these guys. And more it is becoming like that, but it's not going to happen without people talking about it. And oftentimes the culture is, I still talk to buddies, about different things like the Terps Up product that's showing you. I got a couple of my friends on dispensaries. They're like, I ain't telling nobody about this. I'm like, God damn it, man, tell people about it. It's okay. Tell
well,
them about Autopot. Tell them
you know,
about it.
sometimes it takes seeing to believing to
Yeah.
be a believer. It really does. Now if you're one of those people who you need to see it to believe it, you come right on over to Captain Autoflowers page on Instagram. I will show you results growing autoflowers in autopots. It's like I said, I'm the laziest grower I know. If I can do it, you can do it. It's I
You
use
like in a G3. You've been only using it what, like a couple of weeks now?
Like a week, but
A week.
it is lazy growing
Really?
in the best way possible. A week,
That's awesome.
and that's it. And my girls are so happy. Oh
Great.
my gosh, the branches on these things are huge.
No doubt.
Yeah, they're thrilled. I'm thrilled. Everybody's thrilled.
Good.
It's
Well,
a good situation.
I was gonna say, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But you got two of the best resources right here. On
Yeah, I definitely I was like, I had to have put something together wrong, right? I had to have messed something up. And I messaged Monster and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
how long is this supposed to take? Is this together right? I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, it's fine. Stop. And
Yeah.
he's totally
There's
right.
no way
Everything's
that it can
perfect.
be this easy, right? That's
It
what
was
you're
so
thinking. But
easy.
no, it
It's
is.
too easy.
People call me and they're like, I don't think the valve's filling up. It's not bottoming me out. I just see water in there all the time. And I'm like, just chill,
If
man.
you really babysat it, yeah.
Yeah. But I always tell them it's like if you watch a clock, it doesn't move. Like just chill out. The plants look okay. It's not overflowing or anything. Then you're fine.
But her question to me was, I'm not sure if it's wicking up or not. I'm like, is your tray full? She's like, yep. I'm like, well, then you're all set. Just
Yeah. The pot weight is helpful too, but you don't want to pick that up without the tray being off.
Yeah.
So
Oh
I
yeah,
was
because when you put it
definitely-
back down, you'll make a mess. I've done it.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
displace
now-
the water.
Yeah, and the valve might fill at that point, and then you put the pot back in, you displace the water, and now the water level is way higher than it should be. And usually the valve will correct itself, but like 1 out of every 10 times, 1 out of every 20 could cause the valve to malfunction, and then it'll overflow. So you do want to be careful with that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's all
I was definitely I was skeptical in the beginning. I was worried that I couldn't move my plants around. And I was like, I like to spin my girls and move things. And you're like, yeah, you can. I was like, you're sure? You're like, yeah.
We
No
might have
problem.
we might have a little wheelie base for the XL soon that attaches to a scrog. It's all movable thing that we're in conjunction with another company now that we
That's
available
exciting.
on our website. Yeah.
Exciting.
I like
That sounds
that.
really
guys,
cool.
I like that.
and all three of you guys have free reign to any of our products. If you think something's cool and you want to play with it, you just let us know. We got you.
Appreciate that.
We're
Oh,
very
you're the man,
Thank you
Manny.
so
Thank you.
much.
Just saying, New York's halfway between me and Monster. All three of us actually. We could plan a
come
day.
through, man. Yeah,
Come on
come
up to the Big Apple.
When's the next event you guys are attending?
Yeah, where are you going?
So I won't be there, but we're doing Richmond, Virginia, the Canicon there.
Oh, that's cool.
Unfortunately, we didn't get in for this NECAN in Albany, not this weekend, but next weekend. There's a NECAN in Albany. But I'm excited about New York, man. I live here in New York City. And if y'all ever come out, man, I love the city. I'll show you around. I'm not from here, but I've gotten to know it pretty well. And
I can tell by you got a little twang there.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, so, but yeah, but if y'all do come out, I'd be happy to show you around. But I'm excited about New York, man. I think this area around New York City, the greater metropolitan area around New York City, is going to be the biggest cannabis market in the world. The population here, the consumption that already exists, these laws that are about to go into effect are awesome. And it's great that Cuomo messed around and got in trouble because in the heat of all that, he passed a bill that he never wanted to pass just to be popular. And now it's one of the best, I think, as far as equity goes and cannabis goes. I mean, out there for home growers and, the equity provided for people that want to get involved in retail and commercial cultivation, the micro cultivation licenses that are going to be available out here are going to be super cool. It's be like kind of like brewery style, microbrewery style, places around the city. Yeah. Cause it's like,
you have to look into that.
It's going to be, dude, there's no cap on licensing for these initially. So from what I've read, and that things go back and forth, but this bill's been passed. It's just getting it into action. But the cannabis space should be like 5,000-10,000 square feet, on-site consumption, on-site sales, on-site cultivation.
Shit.
It's the only license.
So you can have like a restaurant basically, like attached to your grow. Go tour the operation. Weren't we talking about that this weekend?
Is exactly what
Seriously.
we're talking about.
Just like you can see behind the glass. Like it's not like you can go in the room with the plants, but you can
just like
see
a microbrewery. Right.
Yeah, just like a brewer.
They're in there, and
you see the brewer working back there, and the big kettle, and all the steam.
It's the only license that's fully vertically integrated out here, right? So it's this micro cultivation license, super cool. And then I live out here, man. It's already like all the bodegas and all there's trucks on every corner just fucking selling pens and flour, and edibles. They're like instead of food trucks, they're weed trucks everywhere, man. Every bodega is selling. It's like
that sounds cool. Actually, all right. Well, I'm coming up soon. I'll be in your DM soon, Manny. We'll be talking. That sounds badass.
Hey, it's a real invitation. I'd be happy to have you.
And plus, you got a lot of people like who value their own time and don't have the time to sit around hand watering all day. You got to grow.
We're already selling a bunch of systems out here. They've already picked up, even though it hasn't fully. I think it's 6 months after the first retail cannabis is sold in dispensary, they're going to fully allow the home grow clause goes into effect, and it's 3 plants per person, 12 per household, 6 in flower. So
badass.
Yeah, similar to Massachusetts.
And New York growers be like, "Hey, back off! I'm a growing here. Right. Don't you see?
I got the best in the city. No, you got the best in the city.
It's that fucking New York water.
It's like the new strains will be like the new strains will be like gabagool. They're like, yo, you think you're gabagool?
Gabagool. I can't wait until that's a strain name, to be quite honest.
Yeah, because I'm Italian, I will definitely grow that.
Gabagool.
Gabagool. They're like, it has hints of bolognese and old world pepperoni.
Got to have those meat terps.
Pepperoni head terps.
You go on over to like Fat Eddie's Grow Op and watch the cultivation take place and get yourself a slice of New York pizza. You'd be in heaven.
It's not bad, man. The problem is you'll hurt yourself eating all this food. So, yeah, I already do.
You just smoke a bowl. Your stomach will feel better. You'll be hungry again. Eat more. It's the perfect recipe.
I'll just hate myself the next day. Yeah.
Man, this was a fun show. I think people out there will have learned a lot. So again, we want to thank you. And we want to thank all you listeners out there in podcast land who tune in live, watch on YouTube, watch on Twitch.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, Manny? Where they can find Autopot products.
I think our Instagram is a great place, Autopot_USA. Follow us on there at the YouTube channel. Anybody can email me any questions, Manny at autopot-usa.com, just like our website, but Manny at the front. And I don't know, these are the best ways to access us. And on Instagram, we'll post anything we're doing in the future, new products coming out. And go to your local retailers, man. They're the best people. These are the guys on the floor, pushing, just like you guys, pushing the good word of Autopot and getting our stuff out there. And I can't thank those guys enough, because they've been one of the biggest driving forces of getting Autopot in people's hands. Just all your local Hydro stores. And if they don't carry it, let me know. I'll get you a free Autopot system if you get Autopot in the store. So holler at me.
Nice.
Gotcha.
That's what's up, man. I love the accessibility, the fact that you're bringing manufacturing into America. The customer service counts for a lot, and all us growers know we got some serious ass customer service problems out there in the industry. I don't even want to get started about that shit. We're too late in the show for that. But again, you guys are like a shining example of how companies should behave, and the accountability, transparency, all that stuff, man. I love it.
I'll tell you real quick. I was troubleshooting some problems after the last show I did with you guys, because that's what I do a lot of the day for people. I just help them out, and a lot of people went to me. It's like, oh man, I heard you on the cultivation conversation. As I'm helping them with whatever they're doing. So it was
Nice.
just, it was funny to hear that. So yeah.
Well,
But yeah, man, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And listen, we'll decrease the frequency in between, these conversations and occurrences.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'd like to have you on anytime you want to come on, Manny. Just let us know.
Cool.
You're open
Awesome.
every day.
Anytime.
I
You
enjoyed
don't
it.
even have to have shit to talk about, dude. You can just sit back in the corner, relax, smoke a vape,
Yeah.
eat
The
a
next one
slice.
I'll get high on the next one. I'll talk less. I'll listen.
It's all good. Well, we appreciate the info, man. And again, thank you all listeners out there. Please find us on Patreon. Support us if you can.
Yeah. Head to our website, cultivationconversation.com. Anything you need to know about the show is there. And don't forget, code CC10 at Autopot USA, 10% off your order every time you order. That code is good as long. Anytime you want to order, just keep using the code. 10% off.
It ain't going nowhere.
Get yourself automated. Buy once, cry once. Get the Cadillac of automated watering systems. Take your fucking life back. It's the best investment you will ever make in your grow. I promise. Organic, synthetic, however you want to do it. Just, don't think about it. Code CC10. And yeah, if you have any questions, hit any one of us up. We'll try to help you as best we can. And anything else you guys have to throw out there?
Oh, we love you guys.
You guys,
really do
if you
appreciate
guys happen to be watching this on YouTube, we do film live Tuesdays, usually at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. So come see us on Twitch and join the conversation live.
Yep. Thanks. That's a great point. Yeah, we do this live on Twitch and then upload to YouTube. You can also join the conversation on Discord. It's a good way to, find other growers who know what they're talking about. It's a great resource. If you're not using Discord, you are missing the boat. So, guys, thank you again. Thank you. And I hope you all have a great night. We'll talk to you in a few more days. All right.
Peace. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And oh yeah, don't get caught. Most
Take it easy.
importantly.
All right, have a good night. Bye, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.